So here we are, Kim, Mac, me, TJ. And in this segment, I just kind of want to share with you what I feel the situation is. Situation being, basically, I'm in a guilt by association position. Combined with no amount of concession will ever be great enough to rectify any perceived past societal grievances. By this I mean, Kim and I live in suburbs of Detroit. Mac doesn't even live in the Detroit metropolitan area anymore. He got the hell out of Dodge. But when something happens in Detroit, or let's say Minneapolis, and if race is a perceived issue, I feel like we all must suffer the consequences. We've done nothing wrong. We live and let live within the guidelines of the Constitution. We attempt to lead productive lives.
We don't tread on others.
We attempt to contribute to society and maintain the balance of it. Treat those around us with respect and dignity. And yet, we're told that is not good enough. As of lately, I have taken note of a certain term that's I've heard repeated time and time and time again. That term being systemic racism. And if you don't believe in systemic racism, you are in fact guilty of it. Comments, guys?
I'll quote the president, I'll say something presidential here. Bullshit. That's what that is.
I'm just tired of the term racist, period. Because the thing is if you don't agree with a certain group, then you're racist. You know, the thing is we all have differences of opinion, and I thought this was the United States of America,
Yep.
where we had the right to have different opinions. To me, this other group is trying to make us all communist, where we have to share their opinion.
Well, the reason why I felt like I got smacked in the face with this is, I listen to Rush Limbaugh a fair amount. And if anyone who's been listening to Rush Limbaugh the last week or so, he made a call into a morning talk show that calls themselves The Breakfast Club. And it consists of 3 DJs, we'll call them. And the one DJ goes by the name Charlemagne the God, T-H-A, Charlemagne the God, which honestly I feel that's blasphemous, my belief. Then you have
Count me in too.
You have a stunning young lady by the name of Angela Lee, and then a third guy who goes by DJ Envy. That's what he calls himself, DJ Envy. And after listening to Rush Limbaugh called into them, and in calling into them, he basically was pleading with them, I need to understand your perspective. Get me to understand. And I believe he was making a genuine, heartfelt, held out his hand to them and said, I need some clarification here. And as they were having their back and forth dialogue, and I don't recall which one brought it up, it was one of the guys, I'll tell you, brought up the term systemic racism. And when Rush kind of took issue with the term itself, it immediately turned into a tense exchange in which Rush was called delusional. They used the word delusional. They said because he did not believe in the term, he was delusional. As I was listening to this, and as I was listening to it real time play out, I just went, ugh. If he's delusional, I'm delusional. I mean, assuming he in fact is delusional, okay? And during the exchange, uh, you know, Rush attempts to explain to them. He goes, well, after 8 years of President Obama, how can systemic racism still exist? And their response was that the system was so stacked against President Obama, you know, even President Obama couldn't address systemic racism. And of course, my thought was, if the system was rigged against President Obama, have they totally missed the fact that the Democrats are controlling the system? I mean, President Trump went to D.C. to drain the swamp. Whether you call it the system, whether you call it the swamp, whatever you want to call it, clearly the Breakfast Club was not of the opinion that the Democrats control the very system that they're accusing of systemic racism. Any thoughts here, y'all?
Well, I've said this for a long time now because I'm familiar with this phrase. What system, and please tell me if you know, what system is in place, a system that oppresses black people? Because I don't know what it is. And I think that's what Rush was getting to, although you heard the interview, I did not, so I'm not certain about that. But what system is in place? And don't tell me they get arrested more. That's not a system. What government agency or what system oppresses black people?
You know, whether, you know, if it's a procedural matter, then it would have to be written down somewhere, or
where can I Google it and it'll tell me what system is in place?
I just any thoughts?
I don't think there's any systems other than, I think there's some racism on the other side as far as
people will always be racist.
College systems currently, much easier to get into a college with a lower grade level if you are black than if you are white. Much easier to get college loans if you are black than if you are white currently. We were told this by our college counselor when my son went to college.
I'll tell you right now, what they were saying to Rush, it was almost like they were saying it to me. And at the risk of speaking for you guys, and they might as well have just been saying it to the Michigan Conservative Roundtable. Right. Okay, given their definition, then we are delusional to the fact that there's the existence of systemic racism.
Well, by even asking the question, which is holding them accountable, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe the system of accountability is what oppresses black people. You got to go to work on time. You got to pay your taxes. You got to take care of your property. You got to drive with a damn license. You can't drive without a suspended license. Maybe it's the system of accountability. Maybe I've answered my own question. Just holding black people accountable is the system that oppresses them.
You know, if they can't answer it, you know, maybe...
There is no answer. That's why, if they had an answer, they would have brought it. But all they can come up with is...
Well, you're racist.
You're a racist.
Well, in watching Fox News, and I'm gonna mention Brit Hume here. Brit Hume I would put as the lean never Trumper category. Okay, I don't think he's an out and out never Trumper, but he's an apologist for them. Okay, Brit Hume is an apologist for the never Trumpers.
He's been to the White House too many times, and he sat in the Oval Office too many times, and like Chris Wallace, he's maybe not getting invited to all the parties like he used to.
Probably. But the reason why I bring up Brit Hume is it's reported even Brit Hume has come out and said, oh my goodness. And I think he was saying, I think what prompted Brit Hume was the peaceful protesters. I say that sarcastically. Okay. I think Brit Hume has even come to the conclusion, holy cow, no concession is really great enough.
No, they keep putting more and more and more, and they're talking about
reparations.
Reparations again, that we owe them because their great grandparents were slaves.
Well, I think even you know the term Johnny come lately. I feel like Brit Hume's become a Johnny come lately.
Yeah.
Okay. And in closing here, you know, solutions. I don't know if I have solutions. I can only know of a couple of things that I, as an individual, can do. In my daily interaction with people, I think of the speech term power of persuasion. Power of persuasion, reasonable discussion and dialogue. And for one thing, you're going to need to be, dare I say, well read, whether it be with the current event news articles or whatever. But the power of persuasion, as you talk to people in some kind of coherent presentation, try to change a person's mind through the power of persuasion.
Well, if the dialogue can only begin after you admit you're a racist, which you are not, then how do you have that dialogue?
Yeah, well, that
You
is
don't.
that is the problem. That's part of the
You
problem.
don't have that dialogue, and the thing is that people who believe everybody is racist and against them, they're the ones that have the problem.
Right.
It's not the people around
Well, if you
them.
believe that everything that happens to you
It's
in
because
your
of
life,
someone else's fault.
or it's because of your skin color, he knows this story. We had a coworker. His name will go
Unmentioned.
unmentioned, but because it's not relevant really. He went to the cafeteria line and he felt as though he didn't get enough meatballs and gravy in his beef stroganoff.
Because of his skin color.
And he said it was because he was black. So after that, because he threw out the racism
And
charge,
the supervisor was what I would define as a good liberal.
oh yeah,
Oh,
classic Ann Arbor
she was a good liberal.
leftist, and she was a racist because he didn't get as much as he thought he should have.
And his accusation stung her. I recall
It
this.
did, and so the solution was they gave him copious amounts of meatballs, copious amounts of
Yeah.
gravy, and copious
They sure
amounts
did.
of noodles
They sure
to
did.
shut him up, and he thought it was pretty damn funny
Yeah.
that he was able to get over
Yeah.
on him.
I even asked him, I said, man, how'd you get all that? And that's
double
how,
up your order.
and that's how we came to have knowledge of the whole scenario.
Well, when I first got here to Michigan, I stopped in a Utica parking lot. I was working on nurses' notes and the thing. When I looked up, I had policemen on each side of my vehicle with guns pulled. Now, I know it wasn't because of the color of my skin that they had guns pulled on me. I couldn't call racist for that, which we would hear from other racists.
You were driving while blonde.
Oh, is that what it was? But come to find out, they told me they did this because I had Texas plates on my car. So, there's a lot of different reasons police stop people, and it's not just because of the color of their skin.
Well,
people
I think,
like to say.
I think their logic was that you're from Texas, and
Texas is right next to Mexico.
which sends drugs into this country by the gross every day. And, you're in an area where people are buying. They think you're from Texas selling, or at least being the mule. So that's why they, And you know what? A lot of those people don't like to get caught. And a lot of those people have firearms on them. And that's why they had their guns out.
Well, as I was saying, if the power of persuasion doesn't work, we're only left with what I feel is the other option, preparation. And you can interpret that term, that word, however you want to.
Well,
Preparation.
I'll take
Preparation.
it a step further. You can do essentially what I've done, which is leave the area. Okay, not have the fight, but just go walk away.
But even in leaving the area, that would fall into
Well-
part of the step of preparation.
Yeah, exactly in my case. But then the accusation is well, you don't want to be around me because of the color of my skin. If I choose to not be around you, and I don't care what your skin color is, it's got to do with your behavior, not with your skin color, because I couldn't possibly. No one is in control of their skin color. We were all born what we are.
But you can all control your behavior.
We can all control our behavior, unless we have mental issues.
Okay, that's all I got. Anything else, guys?
Nope, that's it for
Nope,
me.
that's it.
All right, that's it for this segment. Kim, Mac, TJ, signing off. Remember, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.